Welcome to Revenge with Lyra.
I took the house keys away from her. Now she'll beg on her knees to get in. My brother bragged to Mom yesterday, loud, triumphant, like he'd accomplished something historic. Hi, everyone, my name is Chelsea Morin, I'm 28. I stood there silently in the living room as they smirked at each other like villains in a cheap soap opera. Mom even clapped lightly and said, "Well done, son. Now she'll finally learn." What did I do? I calmly picked up my tote bag, slipped on my jacket, looked at both of them for exactly 3 seconds, and said nothing. Because silence is not surrender. Silence is calculation. My brother thought changing locks was power. He didn't know what real power was. Last night I stayed at a hotel. Warm shower, fresh sheets, ordered room service, slept perfectly. Meanwhile, they couldn't even imagine what was coming. Today around 5:40 p.m., he returned from work, and before he even reached the door, he froze. His clothes were in trash bags on the front step. Mom sat on the porch steps, mascara smeared, shaking, crying. "Son," she changed the locks. "We have nowhere to live." They thought they locked me out. But what they forgot, the lease is in my name. The utility accounts are in my name. The legal tenant is me. All their bravado, all their fake dominance, evaporated like cheap perfume. My brother looked around frantically, like reality was glitching. His voice trembled, rage and shock mixing like gasoline and fire. "Chelsea, what did you do?" I answered like a woman who had finally snapped the spine of manipulation. "I took back what always belonged to me." He stomped toward the door like a bull, rattling the handle, shaking it like force could undo legal paperwork. But that's the thing no one in this house ever understood. It's not the loudest person who wins. It's the person who signs the documents. Through the glass, I watched him yank at the knob again, red-faced, panting, and Mom actually grabbed his arm like she was the victim in the story. "Chelsea, open this door," she shouted. I leaned casually against the kitchen counter, my coffee still warm, and tapped the new smart lock app on my phone. Click. Total silence. He froze when he heard the digital lock confirm itself. That single beep carried more power than every insult they'd ever thrown. Mom whined like a toddler. "You can't just leave your own family outside. Have you lost your mind?" I opened the window just enough for my voice to carry out. "No, I've finally found it." Their faces shifted. Shock, confusion, fear. Because somewhere in their rotten entitlement, they realized there was no backup key, no landlord to complain to, no police angle to twist. And then Mom switched to guilt manipulation, her favorite weapon. "We raised you. We fed you. We clothed you. I cut her off. "You raised a brother who thinks humiliating me is his right. Congratulations." Her mouth fell open. He turned red, then purple, then quiet. Real quiet. Because now he understood something he never thought he'd have to face. He wasn't the one with the leverage anymore. For the first time in this family's history, they needed me and I didn't need them. My brother tried the next predictable move, anger to dominance switch, the exact tactic he'd used since we were teenagers. His fists balled up, his jaw clenched, and he pointed at me through the glass like some cheap TV villain. "You think you're smart, Chelsea? You think you can humiliate us like this? You'll beg to fix this when the neighbor's here." That's when the neighbor actually did come out. Mr. Lewis, the retired real estate attorney from next door, watering his roses like always. He glanced over, eyebrows slightly raised, and said, very calmly, "Chelsea renewed the lease this month. She is the legal occupant. You too? You're trespassing right now." My brother's entire face changed color. Mom stuttered, We've lived here for years." Mr. Lewis shrugged. "Doesn't matter. She's the leaseholder. If she calls the police, they will remove you." Silence. Not emotional silence, legal silence. The kind that hits the spine. My brother looked at me like he suddenly realized I wasn't the supporting character in his little family hierarchy. I walked to the front door, cracked it open 2 inches, just enough to speak, not enough to invite them back in. "You locked me out to teach me a lesson, remember? So now you're doing the same thing you wanted for me, learning what the outside feels like. Mom's chin wobbled. This is cruel. I tilted my head. No, this is symmetrical. Then I slid a single envelope under the door, addressed to both of them. Mom snatched it, ripped it open, her hands shaking like she already knew the nightmare inside. And when she saw what was written on that page, her knees actually buckled, because that envelope was more than paper. It was legal reality, printed in black and white. Mom held the paper with both hands like it was radioactive. Her voice cracked, barely above a whisper. What is this? My brother snatched it from her, scanned one line, and his whole expression collapsed. He looked up at me through the window. Disbelief and terror mixed. You terminated the joint account.
Yes.
Every utility tied to my name, transferred. Every autopay that came out of MY's salary, canceled. Every card they used, frozen. And most of all, the renewal contract for the next 12 months, signed solely by me. They had no legal standing, no proof of residence, no right to step one shoe back inside this house. He tried to look tough, but his voice wavered. So, where are we supposed to go? We have nowhere. I took a slow sip of my coffee because nothing tastes better than clarity, and answered, wherever people stay when their arrogance finally runs out. Mom whimpered and covered her mouth. My brother went from anger bargaining mode instantly, like flipping a switch. Chelsea, okay, look, let's talk like adults. You don't have to make this so extreme. Let's compromise. It was almost funny. One day ago they said I'd be on my knees. Now they were teetering on theirs. I stepped closer to the glass so he could see my eyes clearly, no emotion. No rage. Just certainty. You spent years believing I'd never leave the cage you built for me. Congratulations, I left and locked it behind me. He swallowed hard, like he'd just realized the truth. This wasn't revenge. This was emancipation. And there is no negotiation with someone who finally walks out of the fire without burning. Mom slid down the steps and sat on the concrete like her bones suddenly weighed more than her body. My brother paced, breathing hard, like an animal suddenly realizing the cage door he slammed now shut him in. He tried one more trick, the same one he used when we were kids. Weaponized humiliation. He raised his voice loud on purpose, hoping neighbors would hear. Chelsea is a monster. She's abandoning her own family. I didn't flinch. I pulled out my phone, held it up, screen glowing. Say it again, I said calmly. Because everything from this moment forward is recorded by the app and automatically backed up to cloud. His mouth snapped shut. Mom's sob turned into a gasp. Yes, I subscribed last month. I added. 24/7 automatic external audio capture. This wasn't an argument anymore. This was evidence. He stared at my phone like it was a loaded weapon. And then his voice shrank into something small. Chelsea, please. There it was. The crack in his armor. Not anger. Not dominance.
Fear.
Where do we go? He whispered. Mom wiped her eyes and looked at me like I was the only lifeboat left on a sinking ship. Can we just stay until we find somewhere? I leaned slightly forward, enough to make eye contact, enough to let the message land sharp and clean. You locked me out to teach me a lesson. Now you're simply living through the lesson you wrote. Her breath hitched, and then quietly, I closed the door. Not slammed, just gently. Because the most painful sound in the world is not a door slamming. It's a door that closes without needing force. A rain cloud rolled in, sudden, dark, heavy, like the sky itself decided to match the atmosphere on my front porch. Mom hugged her knees like a child. My brother stared at the sidewalk, completely still, processing the fact that his entire hierarchy had collapsed in less than 24 hours. Inside, I boiled water for tea. The mundane normalcy of it almost felt poetic. They expected screaming. They expected chaos. But nothing is more terrifying to abusers than a victim who is calm. At 7:18 p.m., my phone buzzed. Mr. Lewis, the neighbor, texted, "If you'd like, I can stay outside for 10 minutes to witness." Good precaution. I typed back.
Yes.
Thank you. Because witnesses' silence lies before they're even born. While he pretended to adjust his sprinkler timing, my brother suddenly stood up and tried one more manipulation sprint, desperation coded in false softness. Chelsea, sis, think about mom. She can't sleep in a hotel. She's old, she'll get sick. You don't want that guilt.
Guilt.
That was their currency, their weapon, their leash. Not anymore. I walked to the door, opened it just 2 inches, enough for my voice to travel clean and surgical. You didn't care about my health when you locked me out. You didn't care about my mental state when you laughed in my face. You didn't care about my security when you stole the keys. His nostrils flared. You can't compare. I can. And I am. And this time, the consequence lands on you. Then I closed the door again, not as rejection, but as punctuation. He had run out of words. Mom had run out of excuses. And for the first time, they finally ran out of access. The next morning, 8:02 a.m., I was sitting at the kitchen table reviewing invoices for work when my email pinged. Subject line: Emergency request, financial hardship transfer. Submitted by Miamoa. She had actually applied for a temporary hardship extension on my internet account, the same one she insisted wasn't mine. Corporate flagged it because she wasn't an authorized user. Attached at the bottom was a message from the rep. We've denied the request. Just confirming. You're the sole account holder. I replied simply, confirmed, and clicked send. 2 minutes later, my brother texted, we need to shower. We need clothes. We need to sleep. Please stop this.
Need.
Funny word. All these years, I needed support. They gave me insults. I needed safety. They gave me mockery. I needed family. They gave me humiliation. Now they needed me. The universe is very symmetrical. At 10:20 a.m., a police cruiser slowly rolled down our street. Casual. Routine patrol. Nothing dramatic. Mom jumped up and waved her arms at them like salvation had arrived. But when officers approached, they leaned into their side of the fence, not mine. One officer asked, "Are you aware you're trespassing? If she calls a complaint, we will have to remove you." My brother's voice cracked. "She can't do this. This is our house." Officer checked his clipboard. Leaseholder, Chelsea Morin. Mom gasped like someone had slapped her. The officer turned to me, respectful, calm. "Ma'am, would you like us to remove them at this time?" I folded my arms.
No.
Let them understand the feeling first. And I watched the realization creep through their bones like ice. Power didn't shift. It returned home. I didn't reply to their messages that night. I sat on my balcony, lights off, warm tea in my hands, and I just breathed. There was no anger left. No shaking hands. No fire. Only quiet clarity. The next morning, the locksmith came again, the second lock change. Final confirmation. Final closure. When he left, I walked around the apartment slowly, touching the walls, the framed pictures, the light switches, the corners, almost like saying goodbye to every piece of chaos they once brought in with their noise, demands, insults, and arrogance. I placed their old house key in a small glass bowl and then slid the bowl into a drawer I rarely open. Not as a reminder, but as a symbol. A chapter that has ended. Later, around 4 p.m., there was a knock on the door, soft, hesitant. I didn't open it immediately. I just listened. I could hear Mom whispering something like a prayer. I heard my brother sniffle and swallow hard. And I heard my sister try to keep her breath steady, but failing. They didn't come to threaten.
Not today.
They came because they finally understood what they had lost. I opened the door only halfway, not angry, just calm. My face didn't carry rage. Only peace. "May we talk?" Mom whispered, voice cracking. I simply shook my head once. Not dramatic. Not cruel. Just clean. "I wish you well," I said softly. No revenge scream. No lecture. No "see? I told you." Just a gentle final line. The one that ended everything quietly. I don't live in wars anymore. Then I closed the door, slowly, without slamming. I made myself dinner in silence. And for the first time in years, The food tasted like freedom.